Why Bitcoin and altcoins have crashed and where they can go from here are the two questions we will be looking for answers to in today's Crypto Saturday video 2. Vexing questions now. Bitcoin is now at 7% in the last 7 days. But yesterday, at some point, it was 110%. Yesterday afternoon, they bottomed out with non-farm payrolls in the US. Fortunately, we will look at that in today's video. But what is really critical here, Bitcoin has lost close to 30% from March to today. Bitcoin is interpreted as entering the bear market when a lost financial asset falls more than 2,020% from its near-term peak. Now Bitcoin technically, once it entered the bear market entered the bear market, the market dominated by bears on the name of the bears. And the bears, the sellers of that financial asset, those who believe that the price will not rise further and will not rise further, and therefore tend to sell. Now they have come to the dominant position in the market, and we will see their dominance for a while until the bulls return. Now, the bulls have left the stage to the bears for a few weeks and a couple of months. Witness the dominance of the bears in crypto coins. However, in the meantime, there may be rises in the bear market, for example. Yesterday, we saw a rise like this. Yesterday, for example, we saw a rise of around 4% with the non-farm employment announced yesterday afternoon, around 4% at noon on Saturday. I am shooting this video. There is a rise of around 4% in the last 24 hours in Bitcoin and UMA, and even more in some altcoins, Axadog BIM. In the last 24 hours, there has been a rise of around 13% in the coin. Or after that, when the data that will bring this Fed's interest rate cuts earlier, we will see rises again. So from time to time, bulls will come and buy, or sellers will interrupt their sales, as it was yesterday, but in crypto coins before the main reasons that brought the bear market disappeared. Frankly, the bull market is not easy now. There are 4 main reasons for the bear market in cryptocurrencies, 2 of which I talked about last week. One is Mt. Gox, and the second is the bitcoins in the hands of the German state. Now, Mt. Gox was the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange in 2014, 10 years ago, so it was in place of Binance, which was based in Japan. An exchange and was the victim of hacking in 2014, lost a large number of bitcoins and went bankrupt for 10 years. Mt. Guggen had been victimized by its customers at that time years later. This year, Mt. Gox came out and announced that it would pay its victimized customers $8 billion of bitcoins in its possession, that is, the Bitcoin supply. Suddenly, it means that when Mt. Gox gives it to its former victimized customers, that is, to its customers who are victims of this heist, when it completes the $8 billion refund process, all of it, that is, all of the bitcoins it returns, can suddenly come to the market as sales. These customers had cost Bitcoin at very, very low prices. $1,056,000, so it is thought that they will sell it. So it is thought that in the coming weeks, with this Mt. Goxun initiating the refund process, it is thought that the supply, that is, Bitcoin sales, will suddenly increase. The first reason is the reason that brought these bears, and by the way, the reason behind the sharp decline last week, that is, the crash of Bitcoin and altcoins, is also related to this. $7 billion of Bitcoin transfer took place in one of Mt. Goxun's wallets in the beginning of last week, and it was even interpreted in the form that he would start to return Bitcoin. And when this triggering reason suddenly appeared, we saw a very sharp drop in Bitcoin from $65,000 to $54,000 last week. $1,000, and now that this is the reason, this is the first reason, and now that this is the reason, it needs to be cleaned up. That is, if Mt. Gogen is going to return this $8 billion Bitcoin, and they will be sold, whoever will sell it will not sell it from their old customers, and they will not sell it, and they need to withdraw it to their own cold wallets in the best case. 1,000 Bitcoins, and now it is thought that the German state will sell them this year. There are various information in this direction. There was already movement in the wallets belonging to the German state last week. The second reason is that in order for this reason to disappear, the German state needs to sell and clean these bitcoins again. The third one, by the way, these 2 reasons have been talked about a lot. But this third reason is not very well known. Whales, 2 very big Bitcoin whales investors who hold a lot of Bitcoin or altcoins in their hands, 2 big whales, 9,500 last week. It was again revealed that he transferred about $537 million. which is the equivalent of about $5 or $37 million at today's price. And this is again where they transferred it to Binance when the big whales transfer their assets. That is, when they take them out of their cold wallets and transfer them to Binance and/or another cryptocurrency exchange, which is again considered to be that they are preparing to sell them. That is, the bitcoins or altcoins they have transferred, from here, another 9,500 bitcoins, and on top of these three reasons, these are the reasons that brought the bears. $1,000 Bitcoin miners suddenly became unable to make money, and now the average level at which Bitcoin miners make money, the Bitcoin price level, is $51,052. $1,000. What do you mean? This is the level at which they make money. Now, these Bitcoin miners spend a lot of energy, to get Bitcoin miners. You already know that most of you already know that the devices that perform the confirmation process in the Bitcoin blockchain are large devices. These are usually now large device farms that used to be done on individual computers. This Bitcoin mining process has become very professionalized, and in order to extract that money, the price of the Bitcoin they obtain must be at least $51,000, $52,000. This tells us that this is a support level in terms of Bitcoin, in a sense $51,000, $52,000. So when it goes below that, first of all, Bitcoin mining stops, and secondly, but now when it gets close to these levels, because these miners are unable to make money, they start to sell the Bitcoins that they have accumulated in the past, which they put in stoas and put in cold wallets to cover their costs, $1,000. A lot of big Bitcoin miners started selling their stock Bitcoins, which again is another reason that increases the supply of Bitcoin, and this reason is the easiest one to solve. So when the Bitcoin price rises a little bit, there will be no reason for miners to sell the Bitcoins they have acquired in the past. But first, the top reason is really the reasons why it cannot be cleaned up in such a short time, so we cannot say that it will actually last very long. So these, as a result, as you know, 21 million Bitcoins will be produced, and so far, close to 20 million Bitcoins have already been produced for the total Bitcoin supply. 1,000 units or 9,500 units of these whales are actually nothing. So of course it is not possible for these to be effective in the long term, but in the short term, that is, for a period of a few weeks, of course, it will cause selling pressure. These amounts are numbers. That's why the market was scared, and the market was scared and the sale of Bitcoin came to Bitcoin. Until these are cleared, we will see that sellers, that is, bears, will dominate. But after that, in the meantime, in the long term, we will most likely see that the direction of Bitcoin will be up. The main reason, the reason I just said, that is, the supply of Bitcoin is limited to 21 million. So the market, again, when will it regain its balance when these are cleaned up? This will most likely happen towards the end of this summer. And already at the end of the summer, the Fed's interest rate cuts by the U.S. Federal Reserve will start, and the market's expectation is that the cuts will start in September after the non-farm employment data yesterday, which brought purchases to Bitcoin and altcoins, and the start of the cuts in September will increase the risk appetite all over the world, and the increase in this risk business network will most likely seriously benefit Bitcoin and altcoins, which are the riskiest assets.